Does the fact that we die, that our lives are impermanent, mean that everything we do is meaningless? I've been thinking about that a lot recently. If you are involved at all in online discussions of philosophy of religion, which I understand most people aren't, but obviously, given my job as a chaplain, I am, you may have heard recently about the conversion of a well known philosophy of religion YouTuber from agnosticism to Catholicism. And I was watching the video he made explaining the reasons behind his conversion today. And at the beginning, he gives a pretty deflating picture of naturalism, the worldview that nature is all that there isn't a god or an afterlife or anything supernatural, and that this one life is all we get. And in his description, he says, well, the universe basically doesn't care about us. There's nothing about the fundamental nature of reality that has any purpose or meaning. And yes, as a description of naturalism, that's a perfectly reasonable one. I think that this universe doesn't care about us, and that there's no inherent purpose or meaning to the cosmos. It's not like meaning is built into things such that it's our job to discover it. So as a description of what you might call normie naturalism, like regular everyday naturalism, that's a perfectly good description. But what intrigued me was how morose the convert seemed when he was describing that picture of reality. Because to me, the fact that there's no meaning or purpose built into ultimate reality is not something to be sad about. In fact, it's kind of something to be happy about. Because it seems to me that if there's no meaning built into ultimate reality, then that means that there's no chance that the meanings we make for ourselves will be sort of overridden by something written into the laws of the cosmos. We get to make meaning out of our own lives. We get to define what our purposes as people should be. And there's no cosmic authority who's going to come in and say, oh, no, that's wrong. Your life shouldn't be about that. Your life shouldn't be about your project to write the perfect novel, or it shouldn't be about your family and friends. It should be about something that has been decided by the universe, not by you. I think that lack of purpose at the fundamental level of the universe actually frees up the possibility that our purposes matter most. And I think that's a pretty good thing. So I posted something like this on Substack, and I was really intrigued by the number of responses I got from people who said something like, well, if there's no purpose embedded into reality, and if this isn't all going towards some predetermined end, then it's meaningless. Our lives are worthless because everything we work to will eventually wash away. We will die. Everyone we know will die. All our children, our family, anyone we ever affected with our work will die. Eventually, the universe itself will die in a sad final heat death when nothing remains, not even energy. And when you put it like that, yeah, it is kind of a bleak picture. If you present things in that way, I can feel the shudder of it on the back of my neck. But I always wonder, why should we present things in that way? Why is it that the ultimate fate of the universe should determine the proximate meaning of our lives? Why should the fact that I will die one day mean that nothing I do matters either to me or to the people it affects? I've never understood really the connection between the ultimate fate of the universe and the proximate purposes of me and of you and of every human being who's ever lived. It just doesn't seem to me to be of much import. I've never understood either this idea that because we die, nothing really matters. That seems to imply that the only things that can possibly matter are things that don't die. And I tend to feel the opposite. I tend to feel that the only things that can possibly matter are things that we need to sustain through our own effort and that are finite, that finitude is a condition for things to have meaning. That's not my idea, actually. It's the idea of a philosopher called Martin Hegland. In his amazing book of humanistic philosophy, This Life, Secular Faith and Spiritual Freedom, although I think it's called something else in other countries, so just make sure you look for Martin Hegland's best book, and then I'm sure you'll find it. He argues that the idea that life is finite and therefore doesn't have meaning gets things the wrong way around. That actually finitude is a condition for something to have meaning. And the way he argues this is to say, essentially, imagine you did have infinite time. Imagine that whatever time you spent on some project, on a relationship, on learning to play the piano, on trying to become a better person, on whatever project you could imagine, you'd always have infinite time left over to do whatever else you wanted. What would it mean then to choose to do one thing over another? Why would it be meaningful to spend an hour a day, a year, a century, a millennium being the best lover you possibly could be to someone if that decision doesn't represent a choice that gives up some other possibility? The reason why it seems, one of the reasons why it can matter what we do with our time is precisely that our time is limited. We have a limited stock of time, so choosing to spend it with someone in a relationship precludes you spending that time with someone else. Our time is finite, so it matters where we choose to apportion it. But if our time is infinite, then it's difficult to see how it could possibly matter to choose to spend it in one way or another, because we're never really spending it, right? It never ever runs out. It's an ingenious argument, and it inverts one of the core intuitions behind some forms of religious faith, the intuition that actually things only matter if they have some sort of infinite resonance. I think it's brilliant. It makes me think actually of one of my favorite poems by Robert Frost, Nothing Gold Can Stay. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf. So Eden sank to grief, so dawn goes down to day. Nothing gold can stay. It's a gorgeous, melancholic poem. Or at least it seems so. But think about that last line again. Nothing gold can stay. There's the possibility for a contrapositive reversal there. Because if nothing gold can stay, then nothing that stays is gold. I hear in that a parallel with Hagland's idea that finitude, a limitation on time, is an essential condition for anything to matter. Because those golden moments of our lives, The moments we cherish most, we cherish them in part because we've chosen to spend our time on that rather than on something else. I don't think finitude makes our lives meaningless. I think it's a condition for them to mean anything. And so now I think I'm going to spend some of my time away from the camera.